40 days to election 2020. Hello and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from Joy 99.7 FM in Accra at digital address GA0993341. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across the country including ATL FM Cape Coast, Radio Max, Takrade and around the world at myjoyonline.com. Coming up, the Finance Minister to request Parliament's approval to spend 27.4 billion cedis in the first quarter of 2021.
If you look at what COVID-19 has done to other economies, Ghana's economy has a lot of light at the end of the tunnel.
We'll hear from the Deputy Finance Minister as he hints the appropriation budget will highlight strategies for a rapid recovery program later in 2021.
Today we would hint about the Ghana Cares program. Even though the actual features in terms of the estimates would come in the main budget.
We'll be live in Parliament for the very latest, and angry supporters of the NPP allegedly chase out ECG officials for cutting power during visit by the Vice President to the Eastern Region town of Asasawa.
Had really put everything in place and everything was really going on very well until the arrival of His Excellency Alhaji Bawumia and his entourage.
And in sports, we'll hear more on current 100-meter world champion Christian Coleman's doping ban as sprint legend Usain Bolt emerges as the cleanest sprinter of the modern era.
And government says it expects power generator Volta River Authority to increase its export of electricity in the sub-region as it maintains the nation is still paying $500 million annually for unused energy.
Our overall aim is to develop VRE into a public institution which operates with a private sector mindset. We know it's a daunting task, but we started.
We have details from the authorities' launch of their 60th anniversary due stay. Great to have you here. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. The details now. Any moment from now, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, will be telling the nation how much will be spent in the first quarter of next year. Government says Ghana's economy is healthy and in good hands. There have been concerns, though, by some economists and the minority in Parliament about the country's increase in debt stock. The IMF has said the Ghanaian economy is at high risk of being debt distressed. Ahead of the budget presentation for the first quarter of 2021, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu is urging the Finance Minister not to cover up what he calls the extent of damage caused to the economy by this NPP government.
We look forward to the Minister appearing before Parliament, arguably and probably for his last time. We are hopeful and confident that Excellency John Dramani Mahama will appoint a new Finance Minister who would oversee the transition into January, February, March before he presents his first major budget. He would be inheriting a very fractured, fragile economy. And my expectation is for the Honorable Minister for Finance to be candid. He would seek an attempt to hide behind COVID for very reckless and irresponsible expenditure, which does not respect any rule of prudence and discipline.
Minority Leader in Parliament Haruna Idrisu there, but a Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng says the economy is doing well despite the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking on the AM show, Mr. Kwarteng indicated the appropriation budget for the first quarter of 2021 will give highlights of strategies to facilitate a rapid recovery program.
Indeed, if you would look at what COVID-19 has done to other economies, Ghana's economy has a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. If you look at the global projections for year-end deficit, that is year-end projections for monies that countries have spent for which they have no revenue. Across the world today, Ghana is doing far better than that average. If you take debt to GDP, how much we have had to borrow as a result of the pressures of COVID-19 against our GDP. So there's lots of light at the end of the tunnel for Ghana. The minister would make hints of it, even though the actual features of the Ghana Cares Tampa program in terms of the estimates would come in the main budget in March 2021. Today we would hint about the Ghana Cares program. I am confident that in the medium term we would fully restore the progress that we're making, but for the disturbances of COVID-19.
You heard the Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng. He was speaking on the AM show earlier today on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. We'll be going live to Parliament shortly, but let's bring you what some MPs have been saying ahead of the budget presentation.
We're looking at the 2020 budget figures. That will sound like something on the high side. I'm tempted to think that then our interest payments are really ballooning. But this year alone, when it comes to debt servicing, we are spending about 38 billion. With a tax revenue of just 42 billion, it means that when we collect all our tax revenues, over 90% of that amount goes into debt servicing. That is not sustainable. That is very, very high. And so that is where we ought to be looking at.
Well, I think it's fair. I would have even thought that maybe a 30 billion, because you see, whatever figure you give will form part of the global budget for 2021. And so if it's 27, I think I've also heard something, a number around that figure. So it should be good for us to run our country without stopping.
You heard some MPs in Parliament telling us what they expect ahead of that budget presentation to be delivered by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. We'll get back to the story shortly, but we're picking some information that angry NPP supporters have allegedly chased out staff of ECG at Asasewa in the eastern region, and they accused the ECG of intentionally cutting power supply just when Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was about to address a campaign rally at the Asasewa market Tuesday evening. The irate members besieged the ECG premises and ordered the workers to vacate their offices because they suspected they were on a mission to sabotage the MPP campaign in the area.
We are actually observing what was going on. And lo and behold, just after the program, the light came.
Well, officials at the regional office of the ECG have confirmed the locking of the office, but have declined comment. Correspondent Kofi Siao will be briefing us shortly. But still on the campaign trail, free primary health care will improve the national health insurance scheme. The opposition NDC is insisting as it battles out its health policies contained in its manifesto against that of the NPP. According to a spokesperson for the NDC on health, Dr. Jehu Apia, the free primary health care will focus on health promotion and prevention, which according to him will lift the burden from the NHIS, which covers less than half of the Ghanaian population.
People say that we already have the national health insurance, as succinctly presented by my friend Dr. Anthony Isiansari, the national health insurance. Of course, the national health insurance is ideal. It's ideal that every Ghanaian will have national insurance, isn't it? But we have the national health insurance that covers only slightly less than 40% of the population of Ghana. 39 point something, let's say 40. When you add the private health insurance, it's only 40. Leaving you 60% of Ghanaians with no health insurance. Let's also grant that the aged and the young ones are exempted. So let's give them 20% for argument's sake. So 60% of Ghanaians will have some coverage.
You heard that Dr. Koma Jehu Apia. He was speaking at a Send Ghana event, which is interrogating manifestos of the two major parties in Ghana. And on his part, Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Isiansari, is assuring that the next MPP government will build new health facilities across the country and upgrade existing ones. The former Director General of the Ghana Health Service maintains President Akufo-Addo is committed to ensuring that no community in the country is without a modern health facility.
Our Health Manifesto 2016 was based on health in all approach. So we're looking at health as a totality. Health not as health, but health has other social determinants of health. So we look at all those things and we make sure that we achieve what we want to do. If you look at our promises, one of our famous promises was restore nurses training allowance, which we have done. We wanted to facilitate the placement of trained nurses, public health personnel, and other public health officers, which we have done so well. We didn't only place them, but now we are placing them digitally.
This is your election headquarters, and here at Joy News, we always bring you independent journalism right here. And joining me in studio is head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, later tonight on the Manifesto Tracker on PM Express on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. He and some other panelists will be delving and looking at what the two major parties, that's the NPP and the NDC, have in their manifestos on the agri sector. He's here to tell us more about that. Evans.
Yes, Bernice, it's going to be one of those interrogations of the manifestos. One of the things we're going to do today, quite significantly, is look at the track records of both parties in the area of agriculture. Yes, they have a plan in the manifesto for 2021 to 2024, but both parties have been in power in the last 8 years, and they have a record that then sort of gives you a sense of who you can, I guess, bang your hopes on. So if you look, for example, at the NDC, one of the things we're going to look at this year, they are promising to roll out a pension scheme for farmers. But in 2012, they won power on the back of a similar promise. In fact, to initiate a pension scheme for farmers is how they couched it. That is back in a different form in 2020. They had 4 years to implement that. That was missing in the 4 years. In fact, it was missing in the 2016 manifesto itself. So we're going to scrutinize that. If you look at the MPP also, correspondingly, they talked about introducing a cashew board similar to cocoa board, for example. In fact, as early as 2018, the president was still promising that a cashew board will happen. What they have done instead, if you look at their own manifesto when they accounted before they moved to the 2021, they rather set up what they call the Ghana Tree Crops Development Authority. The question is, what is the promise and what you deliver, and can people bang their hopes on that? We're going to be scrutinizing a lot of this today with our friends from Imani, and we are delighted to be having the Deputy Agric Minister who will join us on set, and the NDC spokesperson and Agric also will join us.
Evans Mensah is head of our political desk, giving you reason to join him and his guests later tonight on the Manifesto Tracker on PM Express on the Joy News channel at 9 p.m. It will be live on our social media platforms as well. Let's stay a while in the agric sector and on politics. Flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has promised to transform and depoliticize the fisheries industry. According to him, the fishing industry has collapsed because this NPP government has monopolized the distribution of premixed fuel and subsidized outboard motors for its members and supporters who function as middlemen. Addressing fisherfolk at Ayapo in the Ada constituency, the NDC's flag bearer assured his party will fix the current situation if elected into power.
When they took over, they dissolved all the Lange Beach committees. Now when the premix comes, they give it to their party executives, and they put their profits on top and sell it to the fishermen. And then they share the profits amongst themselves. That is the problem with the MPP government. That is the problem with this administration. Everything is about their party. It means anybody else is not Ghanaian. It is only they who are entitled to the opportunities that this country has to offer. The same thing with outboard motors. They brought outboard motors, gave to their party organizers and party executives. The outboard motors that are supposed to sell at 10,000, they put their profits on top and sell it to the fishermen. How can you develop a nation like this? How can you develop a nation like this? But I know that NDC is coming back into office, and we will correct everything that has gone wrong.
You heard that the NDC's flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama. Now, First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo has urged electorate in Trobo in the Ghana West District of the Greater Accra region to vote massively for President Akufo-Addo for one more term to complete what she calls the good works he started with his Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. Mrs. Akufo-Addo, who's been touring the constituency, assured the people of the construction of a major storm drain to help stop flooding, as well as the resumption of work on the construction of the Sawmill Road by Resource Access Construction Limited. She also visited the Ofanko Market and Pokwase Market. You're listening to the Midday News with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Let's go live now to Parliament. Correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us with an update from the House. So we were expecting, Joseph, the Finance Minister to have probably started his address by now. Do we know what's causing the delay? Has he arrived yet?
He hasn't arrived yet. There's no indication of how quickly he will be arriving. The Speaker, Professor Michael Quay, started the sitting here in the House just about 20 minutes ago. And a few minutes ago, he asked the majority leader, who is the leader of government business, Society Mensa Buntu, whether the House will be able to get to the item of the 2021 first quarter budget presentation. The majority leader is conferring, after which we will respond to the questions that have been asked. But so far, the House has been dealing with other businesses, including collecting votes and proceedings from yesterday and laying off a few other papers having to do with the ambulance service and all.
All right, Joseph, but we've been hearing from some MPs, but give us a general sense of how the House is preparing to receive the Finance Minister.
So first of all, we've gotten an indication of how much the Finance Minister will be asking for as far as the first quarter of next year is concerned. You know, the Minister was supposed to probably present a full budget for next year, but because it's an election year and no one knows who will actually run the economy from next year, the law requires that his budget focuses just on the first quarter. And from the documents we've seen, we'll be asking that the House approves an amount of about 27.4 billion Ghana cedis for expenditures going into the first quarter of next year. And that's just about a third of the total amount of a little over 100 billion Ghana cedis that the nation is spending this year, 2020. For the minority, they think the figure about 27 billion is a bit on the high side. John Kinapo, who is a member of the Finance Committee, thinks a lot of it will be going into servicing debt, which he thinks is uncalled for.
Thank you very much. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is in Parliament for us. We'll keep touch with him or stay in touch with him and bring you that update from the Finance Minister when he arrives in the House. But you may have heard within the media space the government responding to some concerns about Ghana being on a HIPC list as put out by the World Bank. And today we saw also in the papers that the IMF has come out to say Ghana is not HIPC. Well, former Finance Minister Seth Tepe has added his voice to the debate. He spoke on Prime Morning on Joy Prime TV.
You know, the difficulty when, you know, my boss is talking about now flag bearers, you know, boss is talking about, you know, debt relief issues. And I think the fund would probably have been an honest broker if they had also set the record straight in 2015 that Ghana was not a HIPC country, because we were then an IMF program when the vice president made those, you know, assessments at a debt to GDP ratio of 67%, which today is only 55.5 on a rebate basis and has gone up to 77%. His Excellency President Mahama is using the criteria which the former vice president said, and he said a lot. He said a lot, you know, including, you know, having the means to generate revenue. Now it's denied. It's in denial, you know, that he said the MPP will not borrow. So these are all factual things which... Okay. So if President Mahama is pointing to a fact, he's pointing to the fact, and it cannot be denied, that our own debt sustainability analysis, the IMF Fitch, which you just quoted, and others are saying our debt is not sustainable on a new GDP basis of 77%. In fact, I believe it's Fitch that has said that we could even cross 80%.
Former Finance Minister Seth Tepe speaking to Daniel Dazi on Prime Morning on Joy Prime TV. Well, Joy News understands that publication by the World Bank was in reference to all countries that have benefited from the HIPC program since its inception, and not that Ghana had been declared HIPC again. Away from that, a Kumasi Circuit Court has remanded an NDC activist and two others into police custody in connection with robbery investigations. Awudu Sule, aka Scorpion, and two others have been charged with conspiracy to commit robbery and robbery. The three were part of some 10 men whose arrest in a police raid in front of the office of the Asawasi MP Muntaka Mubarak sparked protests from some NDC members over the weekend. Prince Appiah followed proceedings in court and reports.
The three were arrested after the police raided the office building of the Swansea MP Mutaka Mubarak. Family members and party sympathizers thronged to the Kumasi Circuit Court on Tuesday morning for the proceedings. There was also heavy police presence at the premises of the court presided over by Her Lordship Jacqueline Avochi. Her Lordship Avochi did not take the plea of the accused, though the accused lawyer says the prosecutor failed to back his claims with facts. Anis Mokhtar Muhyiddin is lawyer for the accused.
What originates or invokes the jurisdiction of the court is always the charge sheet, together with the facts as accompanying it. Now, if you have come to court with the charge sheet ready, duly filed, as you can see from the charge sheet as we exhibited in court, duly filed, together with the statement of facts attached to it, and the prosecution still says they're not ready to take the plea of the accused persons. In my view, that is very regretful, and it smacks of nothing other than a deliberate ploy calculated to still keeping the accused persons and denying them, their liberties.
Meanwhile, MP for the Swansea constituency, Mutaka Mubarak, believes this is politically motivated.
I was shocked to go to court to realize that no charges have been leveled against them. I mean, for against Audusule, that's Scorpio. I don't know how it happened. They've now added him to some other guys, and on the sheet they're talking about armed robbery. Yet they are in court, and they tell the courts that they are not ready to charge them. And I see the court allow them to keep them for 2 more weeks. I feel sad, but who am I to challenge the discretion of the judge?
Prince Apia with that report. This is the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Still to come, government says it expects power generator Volta River Authority to increase its export of electricity in the sub-region as it maintains the nation is still paying $500 million annually for unused energy.
Our overall aim is to develop VRE into a public institution which operates with a private sector mindset. We know it's a daunting task, but we started.
Details in a moment.
When you want it, just Momo it. When you tire for the long queue in the supermarket, just Momo it. And when you really want that beautiful new blouse too, just Momo it. And when you won't get that, when you go get fresh to impress, you know who, just Momo it. And when you need to pay that your utility bill and domestic staff set, just Momo it. And when you want send love to the family for back home, just Momo it. So many ways there. Where you go to use your MTN Momo wallet or make payments with scan to pay. Where you go use the QR code, or you go use the merchant ID or on bank POS terminal. You go also transfer money between mobile money wallet and bank account, all on MTN Momo. Enjoy real convenience in all your financial transactions and live life the brighter way with MTN Momo. We are good together. Just Momo it. We're there for you everywhere you go.
Many people have lost their jobs since 2017. The next NDC government, led by John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, will work hard to provide jobs for all. Here is our plan. Under our Ejumapa policy, we will create a minimum of 250,000 decent and sustainable jobs every year. That's a minimum of 1 million permanent and well-paying jobs. Jumapa, in 4 years in the financial services sector, such as banking and insurance, construction, agriculture and agribusiness, ICT, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, tourism, tree crops, waste management and sanitation, and coastal landscape and forest management, among others. Those who also want to learn a craft will be enrolled under the NDC's state-sponsored National Apprenticeship Program. We will also give them the toolkit needed to start their businesses upon completion of their apprenticeship. NAPCO beneficiaries will also be made permanent public sector workers. This is our plan for jobs. Vote John Mahama. Vote NDC.
Thanks for staying here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. It's now time for sports. Hans, what do you have for us today?
Well, Usain Bolt has emerged as the only sprinter of the top 6 fastest men not to have been caught in a doping violation. It comes after current 100 meters world champion Christian Coleman was banned for 2 years for missing 3 drug tests. The BBC's Mike Castello has more.
The credibility of men's 100-metre sprinting has been dealt another blow. Coleman's punishment means that now, of the top 6 fastest men of all time, only Usain Bolt has not committed an anti-doping violation. In Coleman's case, he fell foul of the rules relating to an athlete's whereabouts, under which they must notify drug testers where they will be for a specified 1-hour period on any given day. 3 missed tests within 12 months result in a ban, and Coleman will now miss the rescheduled Tokyo Olympics, with his expulsion set to last until May 2022.
And Hans, you have something for us. The Premier League starts next month,
Next month, the 13th of November, the Ghana Premier League kicks off, and the Joy Sports Desk has an amazing countdown show for you. The GPL Primer prepares you for the upcoming season. 3 editions. The first one will focus on Accra Hearts of Folk. This Friday, I'll be hosting that one, and then next week, Friday, Muftar Nabila hosts Kumasi Asante Kodoko, and then there's going to be the GPL transfer countdown a day before the Premier League kickstarts.
Yeah, we can't wait for that. Thank you so much, Hans Mansando, with what's happening in the world of sports. Now, government says it expects power generator Volta River Authority, VRA, to increase its export of electricity in the West Africa sub-region. Senior Minister Yao Safumafo explains this is a sure way of saving government the burden of spending $500 million annually for power the nation does not use. The Energy Ministry has in the past blamed the John Mahama-led NDC administration for signing power purchasing agreements that have resulted in the creation of excess power. The senior minister has been given an update on the way forward at a ceremony to launch the 60th anniversary of VRA here in Accra. My colleague Joseph Akable is then joins us live with details. Tell us more, Joseph, about how government intends to resolve the issue beyond the call on VRA.
So we make the point that the goal is to reduce the cost of producing power so that it affects consumers in terms of paying less, and also deal with the in terms of transporting. But the response from the VRA has been today that it's part of their strategy to make the power generator efficient. You can take a listen to Imano Chung Inchidakwa, he's the CEO of VRA.
Joseph, we don't have that now, but tell us how the VRA has been responding to this call.
The CEO says the plan is to make them efficient. They currently export power to Burkina Faso. They intend to extend and reach Mali. So that is the goal. And they have so far been acquiring as many equipment as are needed and replacing old ones, all forming part of their goal to ensure that they are able to maximize profits and win themselves of governmental support. And so that is the goal that they say. They don't want a situation whereby they'll be going to government to assist them or for a bailout when they are in need of assistance.
Thank you very much, my colleague Joseph Akable, there coming to us live from the launch of the VRA's 60th anniversary. And on Arrival Live today, President Akufo-Addo has described carnage on our roads as unacceptable. He's convinced accidents resulting in deaths and injuries can be averted if motorists are extra careful. Handing over some 100 buses to the State Transport Company, the President called for a shift, especially as the country prepares for the 2020 general elections and Christmas.
The deaths and accidents that are occurring on the roads of Ghana is far too much. We're hoping that the policies that are about to be put in place by the Transport Ministry are going to be able to curb these things, and everybody will be.
President Akufo-Addo there, and Arrival Live is brought to you by the National Road Safety Authority with support from Toyota Ghana, Toyota Superior Quality, and the Joy News Drive Safe campaign. It's now time for entertainment news. Mapito CBD is here.
Well, Bernice, remember a couple of weeks ago, Kwakwesi was talking and ranting about the $150 that you have to pay at the airport for a COVID-19 test, while musician and rapper Medical has also been speaking about it.
Kwakasi be somebody where they speak in mind, you understand? And at the end of the day, every human being, they want success, what I say. Even if it's not for somebody else, you go wish them for yourself. So if he's wishing for the betterment of people traveling into the country and then they paying something outrageous. But anyway, I believe the leaders know the reason why they are carrying such tests out there. But at the same time, it's expensive, you get me? Because not be anybody will get that amount of money. So I just hope things get better. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Mapito CBD. And later at 1, we've got business.
And Stanbic Bank appoints Director of Corporate and Investment Banking Kwamina Asmeni as its new Chief Executive, taking over from Alasan Andani, who retires by the end of this month.
Expect details here on the Joy News channel on Joy 99.7 FM later at 1. And that's how we end this edition of the Midday News with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Our top story, the Finance Minister to request Parliament to approve 27.4 billion cedis for the first quarter of next year. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I really appreciate your company. Please don't go away yet. Dr. Mensa Otavel is next with Living Word from Generation to Generation.